Welcome back to Crash That Code. I know it's been a long time and I apologize for not uploading more. We're going to be starting a new series in this channel, and it's going to be for creating a group messaging chat application. And right now, what I have in front of me is a little demo of exactly what we're going to make. So, this first screen is some of the groups that have been made, and we're just going to click here to the new create button and select some users, and then we're going to go maybe select an image, let that load. Okay, select an image like that, and then even create a name for it, such as new group create, and then we're just going to say this is a new group, right? I'm going to be teaching you how to send images within your application and messages like that. And then if we go back, here we go, new group, sent an image down there. So that's a little preview of what we're going to be making. So how about let's get into it. Let's close this project and let's open a new one and get started. So the first step is to create a new Xcode project, and it's going to be a single view application, and we're going to click next, and we are going to call the product maybe just chat app, like that. That'll be my development team. We're not going to select any of these. We're going to only do it for iPhone, and we're going to click next. And then you can store it wherever you would like. I'm going to store it in a file here, and we're going to click create. Alrighty, let's let that load up. We're going to change the device size to an iPhone 6, and we're not going to include any landscape options. Alrighty. The first step we're going to do is we're going to delete this storyboard from here, and we're also going to delete this view controller. Remove reference. And so the next thing we're going to do is, in order to create the messaging application, we're going to need something called Firebase. And Firebase essentially is just a back-end system to store data and users. The initial part of Firebase is free, but once you get to a certain amount of network calls you're making and users, they will start charging you. So I'm here on Firebase. This is the URL. You can just look up Firebase and it will come up. Firebase. But anyways, I'm going to start by creating a new project, and we're going to call this chat app, and we're going to call it and say create project. Let's wait for that to load. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to install Firebase onto our Xcode project here. That way we can store data in real time, right? So the next step is to click Add Firebase to your iOS app. And then we need this bundle ID, and we're going to get the bundle ID from our Xcode project over here. We're going to copy this, which is our bundle ID, and paste it there. And since those are optionals, we're not going to bother to enter that, and then we're going to click register app. Next thing we need to do is download this Google service plist file. So we'll just click download, wait for that to download here, and then leave it down there for a second. We'll deal with that later. Or here, how about we just add it to the project right now? So I'm going to simply drag and drop the plist file over there. And so you must be wondering, mine appears as 6. We need to get rid of that. It will crash. It just needs to be google service info.plist. Alright, now we're going to click continue. And now we need to install a pod file into our project. And basically what this does is it uses CocoaPods to install the Firebase application onto our Xcode project. So if you do not have CocoaPods, you will have to look it up and figure out how to download CocoaPods. But if you do, just follow my steps here. We're going to go Command Space and go to the terminal. Right there. And then we're just going to navigate to the project directory. So ls, and then we're going to go into desktop. And then I think my file's in YouTube. Let's just see. And then we're going to go into cd chat app. Ls just to see what's in there. And then we're going to say pod init, as that's what it says. And what pod init does is it basically adds a pod file. And a pod file is a place where you can write different pods you would like to install. And you'll see what it looks like. So once we create pod init, let's wait for some time. Okay, there we go. It's created. So let's get out of here. And then if you go to your file with the application and then click on chat app, you'll have a pod file here now, as you can see. All right, so the next step is to open up the pod file and add in this pod. And it's called pod Firebase core. I believe that's all we need for now. So we're going to open up the pod file like that. Very simple. And then we're just going to add pod Firebase core. Okay. Then you have to do Command S for command save. We save the pod file like that. And let's just see if we're in the correct directory. And then over here, we're just going to do a simple command called pod install, which should install all the Firebase dependencies within our project. And then we just wait for that. So it's very important that you follow this now. So close your Xcode project that was open. And then what you have to do is, from now on, every time we access the project, we're going to use this .xc workspace file instead of the Xcode project. So always open this file from now on. So we're going to click open there. Really good, 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 good. It's all open. And then we're going to click continue here. And then there is some installation code just to initialize Firebase within the whole chat app. So we're going to go into our chat app and go into app delegate. And we're going to import Firebase. So we're basically importing the module so that we have access to the features that Firebase offers. And then we're going to configure it within our app. So we're going to do Firebase app dot. Interesting, it's not popping up. My autocomplete is not working. Here, let's just copy this then. And then paste it there. And you want to make sure you do it within this did finish launchings function. So now we're just going to run it to make sure everything's working fine. I would suggest running it on an iPhone 6. Let's just make sure everything's working fine. No crashing or anything. And we can just, oh, okay, so Firebase app, interesting. So we're going to click terminal here, and we're going to try something else. We're going to do fir app dot. Okay, so if on your project Firebase app.configure works, I would suggest using that. For some reason, I have to use fir app.configure, which is an older version of Firebase. I might be using an outdated one, but if you have the new one, you can simply go ahead and do Firebase app.configure, and it should work fine. But for now, we're just going to leave it like that. We're going to run and see if it works. Okay. I've never seen these before. We'll just ignore that for now. Okay, so the build has succeeded. We just want to make sure it runs properly. So since the build succeeded, we're going to move on with the app. So what I like to do is, before I start making an app, I like to basically plan out the different files that we'll need, and by groups. So essentially, I'm going to use a certain structure that's normally used within a lot of apps. So we're going to start with a services file, which will have all our backend services. And then we're also going to add in a new file called models. Or no, not a file, a group called models. Call this models. Okay, here the simulators popped up. Okay, everything looks good. You can just ignore that. This is just Firebase junk. And then let's close that. Here, let's models. And this is just the standard way I structure my apps normally. Then we're going to create view controllers for all our view controllers. And drag that down there. Let's make sure it's out of the directory there. We need a storyboard area group. Storyboards, right? Like that. And then let's just drag storyboards in there. Alright, and then maybe also a supporting files group. Supporting. And this is just to keep a nice organized file structure, which is always important, as if you ever revisit the app, you want to make sure you know where everything is. So in the supporting, where did that go? Okay, and this needs to be dragged out. So in the supporting files, we're going to put ourplists in there, like that. The app delegate should go on the top there. And yeah, so that's going to be the basic workaround for now. So now we're going to go into our main.storyboard. And in order to start, we want to configure a simple login, a Firebase login and sign up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a view controller. And we're not going to make the UI too complicated, as the main purpose of this is to create a chat application. So the first step is, I think we're just going to have two buttons here. One for maybe sign up and one for login. So we'll call this sign up and this login. And we can make this maybe a bit bigger. I'm not going to bother adding constraints, as I'm just going to run this on an iPhone 6 the whole time. Once again, the main purpose of the app is to really focus on the logic of building a chat application. And this is just the setup process. You can personalize the UI however you would like. Just making it uniform. Let's change the background color to maybe let's make it a green, or maybe a, here, let's do that. And then let's have a text color of white, and we're going to do the same here. White text color and background of, here, there we go. Okay, it's looking good till now. And since we're not worried too much about the UI, for now we're just going to have a sign up and login. Maybe at the end of the app we'll go and change it a bit. So then the next step is we just want to drag, we want to make this our initial view controller. So we do that by going there. And then we just want to drag in here view controller. Set it in there. And then another view controller down there. And this is going to be for our sign up and login. Okay, so the sign up is going to be up top here. And so basically when coming to sign up, there's a couple things we need. We're going to need an image view, and then I was thinking an email, password, name, so that would be 3 text fields. We would need 3 text fields, like so. Let's make the image view smaller. What I normally like to do is about 100 or 80 on both. Right, so let's keep it like that. Let's move this there and that there, and then this up a bit. And then we'll just keep a placeholder in there. This is really basic UI. I don't want to go too much into it. Command copy and paste this text field. Much time. There we go. Command copy, command paste. And then that should be good. We can just say password. And then quickly add this auto enable, or here, secure text entry. And that basically gives you the hidden feature where you can't see. It shows up as black dots, essentially. And then let's enter in an email there. And I think that should do it for the sign up. There's one thing we need to do in Firebase before we can implement the logic of the sign up and login itself. We need to click finish there, and that should load up. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to actually enable the authentication. So the way you do that is you go to sign in method, and then we just need to enable this. Like so. Okay, so the email and password's enabled. And then we should go down here, and then we're going to add in 2 more text fields. And paste it down there, like so. And then we're just going to say, for placeholder text, we're going to say email and password. And that looks pretty good. So, very simple. We're not going to complicate this too much. We'll just control click there for a show. And that's just a segue thing to show there. And then I'll show our Command Z that. Not detail, we just want to show it. And this will just present when the button's clicked. So, probably wondering, we need buttons down here as well. So we'll just look up button there. Add it down here. And once again, let's extend that a bit. Make this 47. This is really the custom button height I like. And then extend all the way, and then say login. And we're going to do the same kind of color throughout the app. So we're going to have a background of that, and then a text color of white. That looks pretty good. Here, let's just, to make this simple, we can just copy it, Command C, and then select this view, and then paste it down there. Let's just say sign up. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. Maybe we just need one more thing to exit the view, maybe like a close button. So maybe just a back like that. And same thing here. We also want a button down here. And I think we'll add images instead, like maybe a cross mark a bit later. But just to give, the main goal of this video and the chat application is just to get the whole sign up and login working. That way we can get our users' data. Maybe next video we can go back and change up some of the UI. And before actually implementing the logic, I just want to add a quick label just to make it look a bit nicer. So maybe something like this, chat app. Let's make that way bigger. Maybe a different font. Avenue Next is personally a font I like. Heavy. And we can make the color this button color. Center it quickly. And then let's try and make this a bit bigger. maybe like 30. Let's see how that looks. Or maybe 40. There we go. Alrighty. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. So let's just run the app and see how it looks on a simulator. And since we're running it on the same device we're putting in the storyboard files, we really don't need to add constraints, as once again the main purpose is just to understand the logic behind it. Let's wait for that to load up. Alrighty, so we have chat app there, sign up login. Let's see what happens when we click there. We can't go back yet because we need to implement that, but so far it is looking pretty good. Okay, so the next step is, in this view controller we want to create two files. The first file we want to create is going to be a Swift file. Click next, and we're going to create a sign up view controller. Click create. Alrighty, and then we also want to create another file, and we're going to call this a login view controller, and we're going to click create. Alrighty, okay, so let's just set the classes. So we're going to need UI kit for this, and also importing Firebase as usual. Let's set the class to be sign up view controller. Type UI view controller. Right, like that. And I used to like to use these mark comments just to make our code easier to read, and we're going to say override methods, and this is where we're going to add our override function view did load, just like that. Super dot view did load. Boom. Leave some space on the top for some other stuff that will come. And then let's also just quickly create our class for this. So import UI kit, import Firebase, and then create the class. Class login view controller, type UI view controller, like that. And then mark override methods, just like last time. And then we can actually just go and, that's an error, super.v did load. We can just go and copy it from there, paste it there, like that. Alright, wonderful. So now we just want to click this assistant editor, and then we are actually not interested in that. We're going to actually go to our storyboard, like so. Close this for a second, and we're going to add the class. I need to open that, never mind. So we're going to add the class like so, sign up view controller, and I also just like to paste in this storyboard ID for future cases. And then we're also going to add in the class for here as login view controller, like so. And the next step is we need to create some outlets. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create this Imagery Outlet. So let's just say profile image view and connect. Okay, so if this ever happens with you, it's just an Xcode thing, where if you normally just quit Xcode and then reopen the project, it should start working. So that's what I'm going to do. So not quitting. Maybe shift clean it. Stop the build, apparently. Okay, and shift clean. Okay, so since that's not working, I'm going to force quit it eventually. let's hide it and get that out of the way. Maybe we'll try connecting it again since it's not quitting. Just create profile image view. Okay, so there you go. Xcode is just being a little wonky. Then what we want to do is we want to add this text field. So we'll call this full name text field. And we also want to add this email text field. Email text field, like so. And then password text field. Click connect. And after that's done, so here I usually like 1, 2. There we go. Let's put a space down there and then mark and outlets. Perfect. So now we have our outlets there and our view did load there. We need to add some actions now. All right, here. So we're going to mark this as outlet actions. Okay. So the first action we're going to create is this back button clicked. And I'm just going to say back button tapped, like so. And my bad. So Command Z and then delete. And then just make sure, because it needs to be an action, not a normal outlet. Just make sure it's fully disconnected. And we do so by going here. I'm just going to assume it is. Back button tapped. And then change this to an action. That's very important. Alrighty. And then we also want to add this sign up button tapped. And then make sure to make that an action as well. I don't know why this won't show up. Weird. Alrighty. So, we're just going to implement some simple logic to dismiss. Complete true, nil. And this just dismisses this view controller. Oh, crashed. So this is fine if this happens with Xcode. It does happen. Not to worry about it. Let's just put this on the side. And let's open this chat app again. Alrighty, let's wait for that to load. Okay, so we're back where we were. I just want to see if this loads now correctly. Okay, I just wanted to make sure there was only one connection from that button. So now let's run the app and see if the dismiss code works. And you know, I really don't know what these errors are. I will look them up, and in the next video we will take care of them. I've never seen these before, but for now let's just focus on the main functionality. Alright. So, right now the app won't do much. It should just load, like so. Click sign up and click back, I hope. Yeah. Okay, great. So, that functionality works. Perfect. So now I just want to implement some functions to kind of get this view set up and also the text. So that's what I mean with the password. Okay. So over here, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new mark and call this setup view functions. Okay. Create a function called setup view, like so. Alrighty. Okay. And then the first step is just making the this image round. We want it to be circular, so let's just quickly set that up. So the way to do that is profile image view dot layer dot corner radius equals profile image view dot frame dot size dot width divided by 2, and then profile image view dot layer dot masks to bounds equals true, and we also, just in case, want to say dot layer dot, I think it's, oh no layer this time, dot clips to bounds equals true. And then we just want to call this function within view did load, like so. Nice and clean. Okay, so that should make it circular. And then let's just quickly look up a profile picture, just a placeholder, just so it looks a bit nicer. So let's go to images here. And you know what, I think this one looks pretty good. So we're going to drag and drop this here to our desktop for now. And then we're going to put this in our assets folder, actually. Here we go. Drag and drop it there. And then we're just going to call this profile picture. And then in main.storyboard, I'm going to click here. And then we're going to add it there, profile picture. So it looks like that now. Maybe drag this down a bit, like so. And then go back to sign up view controller and close this. And then we also just want to, since we're going to want to interact with this image view, and I'll explain why later, we just want to say dot is user interaction enabled equals to true. And while we're at it, let's also add a gesture dot add gesture recognizer, and this will be UI gesture recognizer target. And here it's gonna go crazy. Here, let's add this self and a selector of hashtag selector handle image tap. Copy that and then create the function down here. Function image tap. And in the next video, we will learn how to actually present the image picker and display an image. For now, we're just going to display that default, we're just going to store that default image view that we saw, because once again, the purpose of the video is more setting it up. So, the first step to really figure out the logic of this is to safeguard the app a bit. So what we want to check is if the sign up button's being tapped, and if one, the full name text field.text is equal to, is empty, or the email text field.text is also empty, or even the password text field.text is empty, or missing that, then really we want to display an error. We want to say print, please enter some values. Okay, else this is where we really want to create the user and store it within our app. So the way to do that is we're going to go to Firebase documentation and do it that way. Let's go to the docs, new browse, new page here. And we're going to go and get started for iOS. And then go all the way down here. Let's see if they begin doing that here. No, we need to go to Authentication and get started. Okay, so the way to create a user is essentially to use this method auth.auth.create user. And once again, I believe I'm using an old version of Firebase where it's for auth.auth. Did we import Firebase? Yes, we did. So for auth, maybe it's auth for me as well. Let's check. Auth, no. Okay. For, I don't know why it's not auto-completing, so we'll just copy this here. And we're going to paste it down there. And then we're going to add for there because I'm running a later version. Let's see what it's complaining about. Okay, so email and password is going to be this email text field.text, and then password is going to be this password text field.text. And that should create our user just fine. Let's see what it's complaining about now. Okay, so that could be happening because import Firebase auth. Okay, so the reason this is happening, or not happening, let's just build it and see if it still throws the error. Okay, so the reason this is happening is because since I'm running an older version, I'm going to need to install the pod for Firebase auth. And the way to do that is, here I'm just going to take a quick look at my old pod file, like so, and copy that, get out of that, and then we're going to go to YouTube, my YouTube file, chat app, pod file. Oh, this is the locked one, so make sure to open that one always, and then install it. Put that there, and command save. And then we're going to do the same thing with terminal. Yeah, sorry about this, guys. If you're using an old version, if you're using the same version as me, that's good for you. It's not too big of a difference, so I hope it won't affect anything too bad. Chat app pod install. So let's just wait for that to install. Yeah, so it's installing Firebase auth now. So now I believe it should work. So let's just command shift clean. And then we're going to import Firebase auth. Or no, it's not there. Here, let's just exit the Xcode project. Like so. Click there, chat app, and reopen it. And now let's try to import Firebase. This is odd, very odd. Let's try building it. Okay. So, yes, okay, so it's just complaining about an optional error. Like so, invalid, again with the invalid import. There we go, now it should not be invalid. Yeah, so that highlighting means it's recognized. That just requires an optional. And this should create the user, and then we can just check if error does not equal nil, meaning if there is an error, then we want to print there was an error. Else, we can go ahead with the rest of our login sign up flow. And let's just clean that up a bit and then go back to the documentation. So that should ideally work. We're going to run this and see if it does. So this is just the basic code. It should create a user within our user section over here. We're just going to make sure it does. The next step we're going to do is we're going to create a full name and email within a separate node within our database, not only in the authentication structure. And I'll show you what that looks like. Let's wait for this to load. And then let's click sign up like that. It's looking good, looking good. And then just to make sure, please enter some values down there. But let's enter something like Joe, and we'll name joe@gmail.com. And then hello, 1, 2, 3. Click sign up. Okay, so there seemed to be an error. I'm not too sure what the error is, but here, let's do it this way. So this will print out the error. So let's run that again, just to see what it is. And I'm going to open up the other project just to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Let's just open it up like that. So this is basically, so let's click sign up like that. Joe, or not, Joe, and then Jacob, maybe gmail.com, and then let's enter a password of hello 2 3 and click sign up. Okay, so optional, the email address is already in use by another. So let's go to the database and click refresh. I wonder. Okay, so as you can see, the emails were created. I don't know why there was an error printed out, but the emails were indeed created. So that's just proof that our basic data structure is working. And the reason I was saying there was an error is because I just clicked the sign up button twice. And so that's why I thought I was creating another one. So with your application, you can create as many accounts as you would like. You can say david@gmail.com and then maybe like JJJJJ, right? Click sign up. And then it should, if we refresh here, it should create it down here as well. david@gmail.com. So it's great. Our Firebase chat application seems to be working. You can ignore most of this code. I'm just going to quickly see something. Okay, so the next step is to create a new user structure. And what we're going to do is we're going to fill in the properties like I do here for my app, my previous app. So we're going to set we're going to create a dictionary of values. So let properties, and we're going to make this of type string to any object. And we're going to set this equal to that. And we're going to say maybe full name. And that's going to be this full name text field dot text. Then we're going to create this thing called email, and email text here. That was wrong. Email text field dot text. And then we're going to create another thing called not password, of course, not password. For now, we're not going to store the image. For now, we'll just store these two properties within our user. Let's see what it's complaining about. So it's just saying we need to cast it. Okay, since I know that it's gonna, all our properties will be of type string, I'm just gonna put it to string like that, and then we're gonna take out that. Now I believe it just needs optional like that. or maybe a self. There we go. Okay. Okay, so the next step is to access our database. So all the way up here, we're going to create a new mark. And this is just going to be for this thing called properties. Let's mark. Okay. And then we're just going to create a reference to our database. So let's call let ref equals for here. That's not working because we need to import Firebase. No, database is not imported here. Let ref equal for database dot. Okay, so I believe it is not working because apparently we need one more pod installed within our app. I'm just going to quickly go, and so sorry guys for continuing to do this, but apparently I'm just going to install these two more, like so. Copy that. Then go to YouTube, chat app, pod file like that, and then paste it down there. I apologize guys for using an older version, but I'll have to do. Okay, and then we're going to go to terminal again, ls cd desktop, YouTube, cd chat app, and then we're just going to say pod install, like so. Should install everything like that. Alrighty. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to close that. Good riddance with terminal. And now we're going to Command Shift clean just to make sure. Cleans, and then import Firebase database like so. And now we should have this available. So we're going to create a reference to our database. Database.reference. And since we're going to use it so often, we're going to go ref.child. And we're going to go into this users node. And then we're going to say, we're going to access this user right here and get the ID of the user. So we're going to go .child, and we're going to say user.id. UID. This is just a randomly generated string. And then we're going to say .set value, and I believe we can just go ahead and say properties. And that should work. Let's see what this guy is complaining about. Okay, we just need to force and wrap it. Okay. Self.ref.child. Okay, so that should set all our values. So before we move on, just to have a clean structure, I'm going to delete all the accounts. Okay. And then I'm going to run the application. And when I run the application, we're just going to make sure that it all works. So I think this video is becoming a bit long, so I think we're going to have to stop a bit soon, right after the sign up, and maybe get to the login in the next video. Basically, what I plan for the chat application, here, let's just see if this works. So my name is Rohan, so I'm going to enter Rohan, and then say rohan@gmail.com. And it's just laggy because it's on the simulator, and then we're going to say hello 123 and click sign up. So we're going to refresh here, And essentially, I'm going to show you where the properties will show up. So as usual, this shows up correctly, and then we want to go to database, and then see if it, okay, so now basically how the structure is going to work is now we have this, in Firebase, this is called a node, and within these nodes, we have this randomly generated ID per user. So this is a random ID for every user, and it's unique to each user. So this is unique to my account. And if we expand this, we have this email property of rohan@gmail.com, which I just entered there, and this full name property of Rohan, which I also just entered there. So that seems to be working pretty nicely. So as you can see, we have a well-functioning application right now. Before we move on, I think that will actually conclude it for today's video. In the next video, we will move on to work on this login area and figure out how to log in the user and begin showing the actual main screen of the application. And the main screen will begin working on group messaging, something that I really couldn't find a video for, and I had to do by myself. So I thought, it was time that someone created it. So anyways, I know we didn't get that much done today, but I hope to do more next video. So thanks for watching, guys, and bye.